Okay, class, in this lesson, you are going to learn to write and graph linear equations, this time in standard form. So let's go ahead and get started with the first example. Okay, so standard form is basically in the form of ax plus by is equal to c. So whenever you see equations with this format, then you'll know that it is in standard form. And the key thing to remember is that the coefficients a, b, and c must be integers. Okay, so if you see fractions like 1/2 or 1/3 in front of the letters x, y, or on the other side of the equation, then that is not considered standard form. Okay, so I just wanted to make that clarification there. So students sometimes forget that the coefficients must be integers in order for it to be in standard form. Okay, so here I have a problem. We're not going to solve this, but I'm going to show you how standard form is utilized in many different applications. And so in this particular example, we have Hannah, who is planning on spending $150 on music festival tickets. Okay, so that's total amount that she's going to spend. And there are two types of tickets that can be purchased. There are reserved seat tickets, which cost $25. And then there are general admission tickets that cost $10. And the question here is, how can we represent the situation with a linear equation, which basically is going to be in standard form? Okay, so what we're going to do here is we're going to let the letter x represent the cost of reserved tickets, and then we're going to let the letter y represent general admission tickets. Okay, so how would we set this up? Okay, well, we know that for reserved tickets, they're $25, okay? And so we would say that, oops, my apologies. We would say that $25 times X number of reserved seat tickets, okay, plus the cost of general admission tickets, which we know is $10, times the number of general admission tickets, which we said was going to be y, and that is going to equal the total amount that Hannah will be willing to spend, which is $150. Okay, so here what we have is an equation that represents the number of reserved seat tickets and their costs, plus the number of general admission tickets and their costs, equaling the total amount that we are planning to spend, or Hannah is planning to spend. And you'll see that this equation is in standard form. Okay, this is in the form of ax plus by is equal to c, and you'll see that the coefficients a, b, and c are integers. Okay, so no fractions there. All right, let's move on to the next example. Here we are being asked to sketch the graph of the linear equation in standard form. And one of the things I love about standard form is that graphing this equation is fairly simple. Okay, and the reason that it is fairly simple is because all we need to do is identify both the x and the y intercepts. And once we have those 2 points, then we can connect those dots and create a straight line. Okay, so first thing to do, and I'm going to call this step 1. Is we're going to set one of the variables equal to 0. Okay, so I'm going to say that I'm going to set y equal to 0. Okay, so when we do, we're going to solve for x. So we have 3x minus 2 times 0. We said we're going to set y equal to 0, and so we insert 0 there. And that's going to equal 6. And if we work through the algebra here, this becomes 3x minus 0 is equal to 6. That results in 3x equal to 6. And then if you divide both sides by 3, we're left with x is equal to 2, okay? So then our coordinate here, or our point, is going to be 2, comma, 0, okay? Where did the 2 come from? Well, it came from this x value that we just solved for. We know that in the coordinate, this position is going to be x, and so we put a 2 there. Where did I get the 0? Well, we said we're going to set y equal to 0 up here. And since this is my y part of the coordinate, we put our 0 there, okay? So we can go ahead and plot that point. 2, comma 0 puts us right over here. So we can put a dot there. Okay, and then we go on to step 2. Step 2. Since we set y equal to 0 in step 1, in step 2 we're going to set x equal to 0. So we say set x equal to 0. And then we go ahead and plug that into the equation. 3x, well, we said x was going to be 0, so it's going to be 3 times 0 minus 2y is equal to 6. And that works out to 0 minus 2y is equal to 6. And now the 0 drops off. We can say negative 2y is equal to 6. And then to isolate y, we need to divide both sides by negative 2. And the result is y is equal to negative 3. Okay? So then my coordinate is going to be 0, comma, negative 3. The 0 comes from setting x equal to 0, and so we put that in the x position of the coordinate, and we solve for y to be negative 3, and so we put negative 3 in the y position of the coordinate. So we can go ahead and plot that point. 0, negative 3 puts us right here. Okay, so we can go ahead and plot that. All right, so now that we have 2 points, we can go ahead and connect those dots with a straight line. And there is our graph of 3x minus 2y is equal to 6. Okay, now let's move on to the next example. So here we've got a word problem, and we have Evelyn who's making trail mix, and it says that she has $40 to spend in total on this mixture, which is going to include almonds, which cost $8 per pound, and cashews, which cost $10 per pound. Okay, so this is a mixture of almonds and cashews. And we want about the same amount of almonds as cashews. So that's the goal. We want roughly the same. So the question is, how can Evelyn determine how many pounds of each kind of nut to buy? Okay, well, let's go ahead and set this up. First, we're going to say let x equal almonds. And we're going to let y equal cashews. Okay. And then to set up the equation, we know that almonds cost $8 per pound. Okay. So that means $8 per pound, and x is my almonds, plus the cost of cashews, which is $10 per pound, times y, which is our cashews. And that total that Evelyn is willing to spend is $40. Okay? So that is our standard form equation for the scenario. 8x plus 10y is equal to 40. Okay? So the next step is to find the intercepts. And so we're going to set each of the variables x and y equal to 0. So let's go ahead and start with step 1. Step 1, we're going to set, let's say set y equal to 0. Okay, so then plugging that into the equation, we get 8x plus 10 times 0 is equal to 40. That works out to 8x plus 0 is equal to 40. And then 8x is now equal to 40 because the 0 drops off. And to solve for x, we need to divide both sides by 8 to isolate the x, and x becomes 5. Okay, so this means that our coordinate is going to be at 5, 0. Okay, 5, 0. So let's go ahead and plot that. 5, 0 puts us right over here. So we can go ahead and plot a point there at 5, 0. Okay, step 2. We're going to set x equal to 0 this time. And so plugging that into the equation, we get 8 times 0 plus 10y is equal to 40. 8 times 0 is 0. And so we're left with 10y is equal to 40. Okay, we'll drop off the 0. And so now we're going to divide both sides by 10 to isolate the y. And we find that y is equal to 4. Okay, so then our next coordinate is going to be 0, 4. So we can go ahead and plot that. 0, 4 puts us right here. So we can go ahead and plot a point right there. Okay. Now the next part here is what will help us to determine the amount of almonds and cashews that Evelyn will need to have roughly the same amount. And to do that, we need to connect these two dots with a straight line first. And now that we've got the straight line, okay, we would find or identify the midpoint here of this line. So if we eyeball it, we will end up right about here. So we can go ahead and put a dot. Let me see, I want to adjust this line a little bit. It's not crossing the exact point correctly. There we go. That's a little more precise. All right, so our midpoint is going to be right about here. Okay, so we can go ahead and put a dot right about the midpoint here. Okay, and we would say that this coordinate is at about, let's say, 2.5, 2. Okay, so this is an estimate. This is not a precise number, but we would say that that coordinate lands at about 2.5, 2. Okay, well, what does 2.5 represent? 2.5 is my x value, and we said that our x is going to be my almonds. Okay, so what this means is we're going to want 2.5 pounds of almonds, and 2 is my y, and we said y is our cashew, so we're going to want 2 pounds of cashews. And this will be roughly our mixture this is going to be our mixture for Evelyn to achieve the same amount of almonds as cashews. Okay, so that is how you do that problem. So let's go through a couple more examples. This is more arithmetic, but you will encounter questions like this. Convert equations, give the given equation to standard form. Okay, so this is obviously not in standard form, and so we will need to convert this into standard form. And remember, standard form is as follows. I'm going to write this off to the side here, so we have this as reference. Standard form is we want it to be ax plus by is equal to c. Okay. Here we've got my y here on this side, my x here on this side, and a number on this side. And so we need to move both of these to the other side of the equation so that we have it in this format, okay? So the first thing we're going to do is move this negative 5x over to the other side, and to do that we're going to add 5x to both sides. Okay, so when we do add those together, we're left with 5x is equal to 2y. These cancel out, and so we're left with minus 3. Okay, and then the last step is we want to move this 2y over to this side of the equation. And to do that, we're going to subtract 2y from both sides of the equation. And when we do, we are left with 5x minus 2y is equal to negative 3. Okay? And now we see that this equation is in standard form of ax plus by equals c. All right? So this is our answer in standard form. Okay, and then our final example, we see that this equation, 1/4 x plus 2y is equal to negative 5, is not in standard form because we have a fraction here, okay? It is not an integer. So what we're going to do here, quite simply, is multiply this entire equation by 4. Okay, now why do we want to multiply this by 4? Well, we want to eliminate or remove this denominator of 4. So if we multiply 4 across this entire equation, these will cancel out. So what we get is x plus 8y. Okay, we have to remember that when we multiply 4 by 1/4 x, we need to multiply 4 by 2y as well as 4 by negative 5. We need to multiply that across each element. Okay, so we got x plus 8y is equal to negative 20. And now this equation is in standard form of ax plus by is equal to c. Okay, hopefully that made sense to you. If you were not completely clear or need to review this again, please go back to the beginning of the recording. Thank you.